a construction permit by EPRA on the 3rd April 2019 for a period of 1 year for the development of the 10 solar PV mini grids as listed in Table 1. Honorable Speaker, I hope Honorable Oudo has his under the table is detailed therein. Before approval of the aforementioned construction permit, Kudura submitted the following documents required for generation, distribution, and supply licenses in accordance with the Energy Act 2019 and the Energy Electricity License Regulations of 2012. Again, here in listed from A all the way. These are the documents, Honorable Speaker, I don't want to go through, that are required for purposes of getting a license. Question number 2, Honorable Speaker. The agreement on lease granted to Kudura to impose tariffs on power supplied and steps being taken to regulate such charges. On the 25th of March 2020, EPRA granted Kudura generation, distribution, and supply license for operation of the 10 solar PV mini grids as indicated in Table 1. Section 11C of the Energy Act 2019 mandates EPRA to set, review, and adjust electric power tariffs and tariff structures and investigate tariff charges, whether or not a specific application has been made or for a tariff adjustment. The approved tariffs shall be just and reasonable tariffs which enable a license, including Kudura Power, to inter alia, 1, maintain its financial integrity, 2, attract capital, 3, operate efficiently, and lastly, compensate investors fully for the risk assumed. Section 165, subsection 7 of the Energy Act 2019 and the current retail electricity tariff review guidelines of 2023 provide for a review of retail electricity tariffs once every 3 years. Section 163 of the Energy Act 2019 requires that the tariffs and the contracts for supplying electrical energy and network supplies be submitted to EPRA for approval before execution. Kudura tariffs application for the 10 sites in Busia County, Western Kenya, was approved by EPRA board on the 30th January 2019, having met all the tariff approval requirements. Question number 3, timelines within which Kudura will upgrade their infrastructure to ensure continuous and uninterrupted supply of power to house states. The response is that the solar mini grids can become unreliable during the rainy season, primarily due to the following: reduced solar resilience, radiance that could significantly reduce the electricity generated between 10 to 25% of the peak performance. B, during extended cloudy, rainy periods, battery may not fully charge, leading to shortages, especially at night or during the peak demand. And C, sometimes power demand increase during rainy seasons, e.g. for lighting or indoor activities, putting more pressure on the already limited generation capacity. The mitigations for that, Honorable Speaker, is that the inverters that were previously problematic have been replaced. 2, the operator to strengthen their distribution network and work towards replacing all defective storage batteries, especially the Buyende area, within a month. And 3, EPRA has instructed the operator to develop a strategy to enhance power supply reliability during cloudy periods and submit a report on this to the authority within 2 weeks. And 4, EPRA will send a technical team to the sites for further probe on issues raised and come up with a detailed report. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, question number 4, a report on the terms of agreement between Kudura East African Power Limited and the government, including whether the terms are subject to review to allow alternative service provider to supply power alongside Kudura. The response is that, Honorable Speaker, Section 165(7) of the Energy Act of 2019 and the current retail electricity tariff review guidelines of 2023 provide for a review of retail electricity tariffs once every 3 years. Therefore, Kudura is required for the aforesaid provisions of the law to submit a tariff review every 3 years upon the expiry of the approved tariff, subject to review and approval by the authority. 2, the generation and distribution license were given for 10 years commencing in 2020, and hence Kudura is remaining with about 5 years within which they ought to have recovered their investment, after which the terms will be renegotiated or the site handed over to a different distributor. Thirdly, the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum has developed draft mini-grid regulations which will give guidelines on the options will be available to the mini-grid operator where the main grid arrives. Once the main grid regulations are enacted, Kudura may operate as 1, a power producer selling to the distribution licensees; 2, a power distributor that purchases power in bulk from the distribution licenses and resell the electricity to the consumer. The mini-grid operator that remains the power distributor for the area, purchasing power for the distribution licensee to sell to the consumers in addition to its existing generation. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Oundo. Doctor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Chair, for the efforts he has made to present the response to the request for statement. But, Honorable Speaker, this looks like a statement that was written by Kudura. Honestly speaking, this is like a defense statement written by Kudura, and it obviously skirts around the main issues requested. Honorable Speaker, and I want the Chair to note very carefully, of most importance is question 2. When they say this approved tariff shall be a just and reasonable tariffs which enables. Honorable Speaker, there is no way 88 shillings for Kudura against 25 for Kenya Power can be said to be just and fair. This is exploitation, this daylight robbery, which, honestly speaking, cannot be called to be just and fair. Second, Honorable Speaker, they indicate that the tariffs are reviewed every 3 years. Kudura started operating in 2020. Obviously, as a follow-up question, which I hope the Chair will get those details and revert, is when was the last review, and when was it reviewed from what to what? Honestly speaking, Honorable Speaker, the main concern and the main overriding concern is the issue of the tariffs. Honorable Speaker, we'll wait for these draft regulations to make sure so that we allow our people to have alternative sources as we wait for the expiry of this inordinately long period that seems to simply exploit the people who are beneficiaries. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Do you have something to add to, because the interest is only one way? The Honorable Member, Honorable Gikaria, says, or rather wonders, why the issue of, why don't you give him the mic? What's happening with the mics? Proceed, use the mics.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You notice the, have you taken note of exactly
yes.
where he feels that Kudura is cutting around?
Yes, I've taken. Honorable Speaker, you know,
respond straight to that now. Don't.
Honorable Speaker, I know Honorable Waudo. And he's very, very, he prepares himself for...
He's thorough. There's no
very
doubt.
thorough.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the word. Very thorough.
Yes.
And when I got this response,
Yes.
I knew part of what he's saying will be coming up, Honorable Speaker. And I totally agree with him that I don't agree with him on only one aspect, that this is a response by Kudura themselves. Honorable Speaker, this statement is signed by the Principal Secretary in charge of energy. So that is a confirmation that I want to say that it is not from Kudura, but it's from the PS. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, the issues that he has raised are very, very key, and I totally agree. At 88 shillings per kilowatt hour, actually it is total theft. It is actually, it is of no economic value to the people of the Western region. And we are, Honorable Speaker, as a committee, seized of the fact that this, the PPAs that were signed in those years, I don't want to mention by which administration, those years way back were very punitive, discriminative, and they were actually never thought of the interests of Kenyans. At 68, KenGen gives us power at only 50 cents per kilowatt hour. Yet you can imagine getting at 88 shillings per kilowatt hour. I think that is unfair, and I totally agree. Secondly, I'm just saying, we are seized as a committee.
Have you lifted the veil on that to see why such an unfair deal can be done to the government? Who are the owners? Who are the owners of Kudura and other exploitative, what do you call, power producing outfits that sell to the national grid here at a very high price?
Honorable Speaker,
are you sure?
Our committee is seized, and there is a report that we will be bringing on the floor of this House. It was brought in the last session, but it was not discussed. We will be bringing it back only on aspect of talking about these power purchase agreements that are very punitive, that are very discriminative, and they are of no economic value to this country. And that is where we have been talking about, are there provisions of a review of the tariffs within the agreements that were signed, of course, without the input of Parliament.
You realize the Honorable Oundo is actually convinced that the statement you are giving us right now was prepared by Kudura.
No.
But you see, the reason why, it's because it protects the interests of Kudura and the similar organizations. The chair is forced to move in this year because we made an undertaking that we will protect this country under any circumstances. And when we were in Naivasha, these matters came up in a big way. And it was abundantly clear. That's when I actually said that camels that are stolen by the owner can never be recovered. Are you sure the most powerful people in the country are not interested parties in that? And that's why these things have been shoved down the throat of Kenyans? Yes, you have to say something before the chairman responds. Before I go to Oundo, the member of parliament for... Yeah, is that game? Yes. Proceed, honorable member for game.
Chairman, Mr. Speaker, sir, I've listened to you, and you said that looks like my chairman was reading a statement presented to him. But I want to talk to my friend, Professor, the Honorable Oundo. I think the committee sees of the fact, but what is important to note, the IPP sells power to KPLC, the entire contractual agreement to KPLC. So upon honoring that contractual obligation, that's when Kenya Power then sells to the public.
Honorable,
what I want to help you.
MP for game. MP for game. MP for game. The Honorable Gikaria is the chairman of the Energy Committee. He is responding to a statement that was sought by the Honorable Oundo. Now, the only way you can rise up is to enrich that statement so that more information comes out of Honorable Gikaria. You're not there to defend anything else other than, yes, no, it's not chairman, it's the speaker.
Meat.
You're trying to add meat on what to support Gikaria. Now, relax, hold your horse. Honorable Oundo, yeah, I just asked a supplementary, or rather...
Honorable Speaker,
yes.
The MP for Game is completely misinformed concerning this subject matter, completely. Honorable Speaker, these Kudura produce the power themselves through using solar and distribute themselves, charge themselves. They do not sell to KPLC. He's completely misinformed. He should have sought to know the correct position. Completely misinformed.
They are not selling this to KPLC.
No.
They are selling directly to the
they
consumers.
produce themselves. They have signed the agreements with the consumers directly. So it's a monopoly. It's a pure monopoly and exploitative. Honorable Speaker, I would have expected the ministry, the State Department, to clearly say, yes, they note the tariffs of the 83 shillings is extremely exorbitant, and we will make efforts to open negotiations with the power producer, supplier, biller, everything to reduce to a reasonable figure. That's why I'm saying, when you look at this, it really looks like the statement was written, given to the PS to sign, and the PS could even be complicit in this outright theft and exploitation of the people. It's as simple as that, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Gikaria, it's a tall order. This thing is not going through KPLC. It's a direct relationship between the producers and the consumers. But the price itself has been regulated by the government agency. Now that's where the elephant in the room is. So you want to say something, or you want to go back and come with a better answer than that? Energy is a very sensitive thing in this House, Honorable Gikaria.
I agree, Honorable Speaker. First, I want to agree with Honorable Oundo. Under Section 117 of the Energy Act of 2019, we did liberalize distribution, exportation, importation, and you just need to have a license. And Kudura was given a license 30th of April in 2020 by EPRA to generate and do distribution and sell. And that is the position, because it is a license.
Does the license give it a monopoly? That's
yes,
what he asked.
Yes.
It gives it a monopoly.
As he's saying.
Then how can you have a monopoly and at the same time you say
no, we don't have a monopoly. Actually, it is a misinformation to the public. Under Section 117 of the Energy Act of 2019, I was the chair then, and I moved those amendments here and liberalized the energy sector in a very wide way, from generation...
Liberalized?
Yes,
you mean liberalized?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is the position, and I want to agree. At the same time, it is that, as the question he had asked, as to whether we have a review of this. And in 2020, within 3 years, they were supposed to do a review. But again, subject to if there is a request to do the review. And that is what Honorable Elisha Odhiambo is saying, that as a committee, we have asked EPRA to go and engage the independent power producers with a view of reviewing the power tariffs as a committee and as a country. Because again, we are saying it adds up into the cost of energy and electricity in this country.
Passed on to the consumer. It's passed on to the consumer.
Correct. So that one we are in, and I want to agree with that we will be going back to engage through the question that he has said.
When do you give an undertaking to
I will, if he agrees, because he only asked this question a week ago, I think, and we have a response 2 weeks ago. And we have a response.
So when are you coming back to the comprehensive answer?
The second week after recess, Honorable Speaker.
Is there any grey area you want to be, so that it is also captured on the Hansard and he has to... If I were you, I'd ask for the lifting of the veil to see exactly who are behind this Kudura. whether Gikaria or Farah Maalim have shares in that.
Ultimately, Honorable Speaker, you know, this country is a very complicated country. The better you leave things the way they are, sometimes the better for posterity and a good life. We are not interested to know who is behind it. We are not interested to know who is the exploiter. All that what we are interested to know is the exploitation must come to an end. So, three things that...